What is going on, AP Gov people? Congratulations, you've made it to Unit 6, the final unit in the AP Gov curriculum. You are ready to destroy this exam in May, and you will do great because you are brilliant. So we're going to review everything from Unit 6 in about 10 minutes. All right, civil liberties we'll start off with. This is free. These are freedoms that the government cannot take away. Some examples include the Bill of Rights, Bills of Attainder, the ex post facto, and Miranda rights. And I have a picture of James Madison. He is the author of the Bill of Rights, the first 10 amendments to the Constitution. Civil rights, on the other hand, are protections from individuals, for individuals from unfair acts from other individuals and or the government. Some examples include the Reconstruction Amendments. That's your 13, 14, and 15 amendments. And the Civil Rights Act of 1964, which banished segregation. You have Title IX and the 24th Amendment as well, which outlawed poll taxes. And the Voting Rights Act of 1965, which increased voting rights for African Americans. Those are examples of civil rights. Okay, the Incorporation Doctrine, one of the most important concepts in this entire curriculum and really the basis of this unit, is applying the Bill of Rights to states, not just the federal government, through the 14th Amendment's Equal Protection Clause. This was established at Gitlow versus New York in 1925. Some other examples include Mapp versus Ohio, which applies the 4th Amendment to states, and Miranda versus Arizona, which applies the 5th Amendment to states. And finally, Gideon versus Wainwright, your right to an attorney, that applies the 6th Amendment to state governments as well. So definitely know the Incorporation Doctrine. Through court cases, the Supreme Court has applied the Bill of Rights to state governments as well as the federal government. Okay, bunch of Supreme Court cases you should know. Marbury versus Madison, it established judicial review. What is it? Yeah, you know it, you little genius. It's the ability to declare a law unconstitutional. Don't forget about McCulloch v. Maryland, which said that the Bank of the United States is constitutional, and this helps establish federal over state supremacy. And Gibbons versus Ogden states that Congress controls interstate trade or trade between two or more states. And this also increases the power of the federal government. All three of these court cases are under the reign of Chief Justice John Marshall, seen here. Okay, Dred Scott from 1857, the Supreme Court declared that slaves were property and all African Americans, whether they were free or slave, were not citizens. This is overturned with the 13th and 14th Amendment. Reynolds versus U.S. banned polygamy and stated that religion cannot make an act legal that is otherwise illegal. So if there is a law that is illegal, the First Amendment of religious freedom does not allow that act to become legal if it is otherwise illegal. Okay, Plessy versus Ferguson in 1896 established the separate but equal doctrine. It upheld Jim Crow segregation laws of the South. Schenck versus U.S. in 1919 established a clear and present doctrine that free speech could be limited if it proves to be a clear and present danger. And Korematsu versus the U.S. in 1944 upheld Japanese internment camps during World War II. In 1954's Brown versus the Board of Education, this reversed Plessy versus Ferguson and declared school segregation unconstitutional, and that schools should desegregate with all deliberate speed. I have videos on all these court cases and more if you have any questions or need more information on them. Mapp versus Ohio applied the exclusionary rule to states that law enforcement cannot use evidence seized without a warrant in a court case. Engel versus Vitale say that school-sanctioned prayer is unconstitutional in public schools. You're allowed to pray in school. You just can't be forced to do it, or school-sanctioned or school-sponsored prayer is unconstitutional. And this goes to the First Amendment, which states that Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof. In Gideon versus Wainwright, the Supreme Court ruled that states must provide an attorney to individuals that cannot afford one. Remember, prior to this, this was only used for the federal government, the use of an attorney to be provided. Now, Supreme Court says that states must provide that as well. Griswold versus Connecticut legalized birth control and established the right to privacy, which would be used in a future court case. And Miranda versus Arizona, the Supreme Court ruled that suspects must be read their rights at the time of an arrest. And this is your Fifth Amendment rights, your right to remain silent. Lemon versus Kurtzman, The Supreme Court ruled that government money to private schools could not be used to promote religion. It could be used to buy things like textbooks. And Roe versus Wade legalized abortion in 1973, and it drew on the right to privacy clause established in Griswold versus Connecticut. The Regents of the University of California versus Bach, the Supreme Court ruled that the quota system for race for admissions to college could not be used, but race could be a considering factor. There just could not be a quota system. New Jersey versus TLO states that schools can search student belongings if they have reasonable suspicion of a crime, for example, for drugs. Texas versus Johnson from the 1980s, the Supreme Court ruled that flag burning is protected by the First Amendment, that is symbolic freedom of speech. In the U.S. versus Lopez, the Supreme Court ruled that creating gun-free zones near schools was a violation of the Commerce Clause. Definitely no U.S. versus Lopez and Commerce Clause. This often gets overlooked. Okay, a quick recap. What are civil liberties and examples of them? What are civil rights and examples as well? Definitely know the Incorporation doctrine if you know nothing else from this video. And what amendment allowed for the incorporation of the Bill of Rights of the States? Hint, it's the 14th Amendment. And definitely know 3 different examples. All right, guys, that is it. Congratulations. You are done with the entire curriculum. Best of luck on your exam in May. Make sure to check out my final review video in the description. It's about 40-50 minutes long, but it's got everything you need to know for the exam. Wish you nothing but the best of luck. Thanks for watching. Thanks for sticking with me this year, and have a good day.